Alirza's game has just finished, and this is one of the positions that was critical in this game. Let's see if you can find the winning move with the white pieces, and let's see if Alirza could have found this brilliant move. So let's start. First round of the London Chess Classic, an iconic chess tournament. I put all the infos about this tournament in the description. Alirza took on Sam Shankland in the first round today. A very strong American chess grandmaster who recently had a great run in the FIDE World Cup. Alirza beat him in FIDE Grand Swiss in September in Samarkand. And as you can see, he plays a very sharp opening. He usually does with the black pieces. And Alirza goes for the exchange Grunfeld, take, and after bishop to g7, Alirza goes for an old line versus Grunfeld. Here Sam goes castle, knight e2. We put the knight on e2. We guard our center. We don't want our knight gets pinned. c5 attacks the center. Castle, knight to c6 puts more pressure on the center. And now bishop to e3. Here black has multiple options. e6, bishop g4, queen c7. Sam goes for knight a5. Both players have decent experience in such structure. They both have games. Alirza has a game against Maxime, who instead of knight a5 played e6, for example. And in this position, Alirza thinks for 3 minutes and play bishop to d3. And Sam plays b6. And here, Alirza said, I'm out of the book. But he plays the best move here, which is rook to b1, which looks a bit weird because you put the rook on closed file. Normally, you just want to put it on the potential open file. But normally, black wants to hit the center with e5, so the rook on b1 is beneficial, as we will see. So here normally black can take, and put the bishop on b7, and it's fine, but okay, as Sam said in the interview after the game, it's a bit always annoying. So he went e5, it's all prep, I assume, and Alirza took on c5 immediately, and now Sam shows a very nice opening idea, sacking 2 pawns, as the title of the stream gonna be probably. Bishop to e6, going for a2 pawn, but not going to take it immediately. So he's playing it in the style of Benko, sacking all the pawns on the queen side and going for activity. And white's pawn structure is not that easy to push, and there could be stuck as well. But okay, the other problem is this bishop on g7. So Alirza takes the pawn on b6, and he takes back. I mean, it's worth mentioning that if you take here, it's losing because of rook b5 attacking the knight. And for example, if you just come back to c4, let me recall this. I think I just take on c4, knight takes c4, and after b7, rook b8, for example, takes, and bishop takes a7. It's just winning. This position was just winning. You cannot really take on a2. So he just take with on b6, and Alirza just takes on b6, and this is the first critical position of the game. Sam forgets his prep, and he plays queen to c8. And it's just a blunder because the queen needs to be on d7, because in this position, a4, for example, you can just play knight c4, and now I cannot chop it off because, sorry, you have to exchange the queens first, and now the pawn and the knight are hanging. So the queen on d7 is much more active, but now, as we'll see in the game, after a4, knight c4, we don't want this bishop get traded with this knight, so we just take. And here I already got the pawn on a4, and you cannot take with the queen. Sam said he blundered that there is rook b4 here, and I keep my pawns active and in the motion. So he took with the bishop after queen c2. Oh, sorry, he played a5 first, guards the bishop, and yeah, because he was threatening take and take on a4, and now queen c6 attacks the pawn. Queen c2, we guard the pawn. Rook c8, rook e1. So far, players were playing kind of quickly. Alirza used 30 minutes on his clock, and 91 hour for Sam. I mean, yeah, the time control is also 90 minutes for 40 moves plus 30 minutes for the rest of the game, 30 seconds for move 1. And in this position, Sam played a bishop to e6. So this is, I mean, it's worth mentioning that, okay, even in the last moves, you could not really go bishop e2, take on c3, because this pawn is very powerful for white, and if I can get it to a7, it's just winning for white. I bring it back, rook a1, rook b1, and this bishop, look at this bishop, it takes too long to come back to the game. So queen c6, queen c2, rook c8, rook e1, bishop e6, and now computer really, I mean, the position looks great. Computer loves this position for white, but it's not easy actually, because I cannot push my pawns that easily. It's all blocked. And here Alireza thinks for 30 minutes and plays knight to c1. Can you find the best move here with the white pieces, best plan? It's like h3 you can play. But the problem is, this idea human-wise, it's a bit difficult to understand how to stop it and why it's that why it's not that dangerous. So Alireza wanted to stop this idea, and not this pawn will not be weakness anymore. So he played knight c1. If you play bishop f8, I go knight d3. So the best idea was, for example, here after bishop f8 you can just go knight g3, and then bishop c5 you go queen d2, queen g5, stuff like that. Some computer lines, you just go for attacking and keeping pressure on e5 pawn. He plays knight c1 and he sacks the pawn. It's a brilliant idea, at least practically. Kind of forced black to go for the endgame. Otherwise, knight comes to d3, rook to c1, also rook e3. Maybe I can guard the pawn. So yeah, he went queen c3, rook c3, knight e2, rook c4, and here brilliant move, rook to c1 here. Of course, you could just go f3, but he was worried about f5 here, but still white is winning. But here computer says knight h1, which is crazy. And now Alireza sacks the pawn on e4, because if you exchange the rooks, this pawn is just too powerful. You cannot afford exchanging the rooks. So take, and now Alireza finds that was his idea. Knight here, knight here, knight here, and push the pawn, GG. But it's not that easy. He plays rook h4. Better move was rook f4, with the crazy idea, because after g3 your rook could get activated, could be active, and in some lines the bishop comes in this diagonal, and your rook is not blocked by the bishop on e4 in some lines. But now here rook h4, Alireza immediately plays knight to b5. Very human move, wants to go here and same plan, win. But now suddenly these bishops get activated and they are very dangerous. So best move here was to play g3. Also in a lot of lines white has back rank issues, so this g3 could help him a lot. And yeah, also in some lines this bishop could come to d2, and also you could not really take the pawn on e5 because there's bishop f4 and you lose the pawn on h2. Some deeper stuff you had to just play g3 with two reasons that I said. So he just played knight b5, suddenly bishop h6, and Alireza played rook to d1. Very natural move. You just dodge all the bullet of the bishops, but suddenly bishops just get wild. They just get wild. And Alireza throws the knight here, wants to exchange one pair of rook. Of course, you're just gonna win. So he just saves the rook, but in a wrong position, wrong square. So the winning move, why this move is losing? Because sometimes this rook wants to come to b4 and attack the bishop to stop this pawn from marching, but there would be knight d5 attacking the rook, and also knight e7 forks the rook and the king. So that's why the rook is misplaced. The better was to just go rook to b8. So in this position, after rook c8, Alireza didn't have a lot of time, but thinks a couple of minutes, and he plays rook to e1, which is not the best move. Hopefully you pause the video and you can, if you can see, find the best move is just only move rook f1, which cleanly wins, because nobody touches my rook. I just want to push the pawn. Of course, there are a lot of lines here, and for example, if you play bishop d3 here, attack my rook, I just push the pawn. I just push the pawn and I don't care. Just take, and you just take it back. The pawn is going to become a queen, and after rook h2 you just play king g1. But okay, rook f1, Alireza said it's an easy move that I missed, but okay, it's just a bit, it looks a bit not natural. So rook e1, and now the problem is, as soon as this bishop From g7 comes to d4, this pawn becomes weakness. This pawn on a5. And that's exactly what Alireza allowed. Rook c1, bishop to d3. He calculated all of this very well. The dance of the bishop. Bishop came to d4. Rook d2 doesn't help because bishop a6. This pawn cannot march anymore. There is a pin you cannot take. The rook is hanging. h3, bishop b7. And be careful that on move 35, this position happened once. And rook b1. I mean, suddenly everything is blocked. Alireza cannot push the pawn. The dark square bishops are getting exchanged. And yeah. After rook d2, Sam Shankland played rook h4 again. So we have threefold repetition here on move 35, 37, and 39. This was the first round. The game ends in a draw with the white pieces. Kind of missed opportunity by Alireza. He had a very good position, but okay, this two bishop advantage, stuff like that was very practically difficult. Tomorrow, I think he's going to play against Mickey Adams or McShane. I think McShane, another strong grandmaster. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this recap. If you like this recap, make sure to subscribe and like the video so you don't miss my next recaps. And yeah, this was just the first round, kind of missed opportunity, but it was just the first round, and let's see how it goes in the next rounds. I'm trying to keep my recaps shorter than usual. Of course, there are millions of lines that I wanted to talk about, but the video is just getting longer. But hopefully we improve it in the next videos. Thank you. See you. Ciao.